Okay, so picture this. A single film that feels just as, I don't know, alive today as it did 70 years ago. A film that cuts across time, across cultures, even across genres.
Yeah, a real landmark.
Exactly. We're talking about Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Came out way back in 1954, but honestly, it's still seen as one of the most important movies ever made. Just incredible.
Undeniably. Still feels fresh, exciting, deeply moving even now.
So for this deep dive, that's what we're doing. We're gonna unpack this masterpiece.
Get into the layers.
Right. We want to look at what made it so revolutionary back then, and crucially, why it still influences filmmakers, why it still hits home for audiences all over the world. Our mission really is to pull out those core nuggets, the insights from the story, the direction, the acting, its impact, basically give you that shortcut to being really informed about this absolute giant of cinema.
Sounds good. It's a film you can just keep digging into.
Totally. I'm excited for this one. So many surprising things to uncover.
Okay, let's start with the story itself.
Yeah, because at its heart, it's actually, well, it seems simple, but it's got such depth.
Right.
We're in 16th century feudal Japan. You've got this poor farming village, and they are just constantly being terrorized by bandits.
Yes, stealing their crops, pushing them right to the edge. Starvation is a real threat.
So out of sheer desperation, the villagers decide to do something pretty radical for the time.
Hire samurai.
Exactly. Hire samurai for protection. But here's the catch. They have absolutely no money.
Nothing. Just food and a place to sleep. That's all they can offer.
Which is where Shimura comes in.
Kanbei, the leader, an older warrior, very wise. And despite this, pitiful payment,
right,
he gets it. He understands the value, maybe the necessity of helping these people.
So he accepts, and then he has to find 6 more samurai willing to take the same deal.
And that recruitment part is great because each one brings something different, Different skills, totally different personalities. You immediately get this amazing, diverse group dynamic.
But the challenge they face is just huge, isn't it? It's not just, okay, show up and fight.
No, not at all. They have to somehow train these terrified, completely inexperienced villagers.
Ordinary farmers.
Yeah, turn them into a defense force capable of taking on 40, hardened bandits. It's a massive task.
And that setup, while it's thrilling as an action adventure,
oh, absolutely,
it lets Kurosawa explore these much deeper themes.
That's the brilliance of it. It really digs into honor, sacrifice, those stark class differences between the samurai and the farmers. And it makes you question what heroism actually is. It's way more than just fighting battles.
Let's talk about Kurosawa himself for a bit. He was already a big deal in Japan, the emperor, they called him.
Yeah, he had that reputation.
But what was it about this film, Seven Samurai, that really cemented that title? What did he do here that was just different?
Well, visually, it was revolutionary. His mastery of using images was incredible, but technically, he used multiple cameras.
Right, to capture action scenes from different angles at the same time?
Exactly, which was really unusual back then. It creates this visceral feeling, this immersion in the action.
It makes those battles feel so real, so chaotic and exciting, even watching them now.
Definitely. And his use of weather. That wasn't just background dressing.
No, it was a character in itself, almost. The final battle.
In that heavy rain. Yeah, it adds so much drama, so much difficulty. You feel the mud, the struggle. Every movement feels earned because of it.
And you mentioned the characters earlier. Kurosawa's focus on them is maybe what stands out most for me.
Absolutely central.
He makes sure every single one of those 7 samurai feels distinct. They have backstories, motivations.
You see their flaws, their strengths, how they clash, how they bond.
Yeah, and how they interact with the villagers, too. It feels like he deeply understood that amazing action only matters if you actually care about the people involved.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
And that care extends to the pacing. I mean, it's a long film, over 3 hours.
It is. But it never feels that long, does it?
No, it flies by. Because Kurosawa structures it so carefully. He builds the tension piece by piece.
Like the first hour is setting everything up. Characters, situation.
Yeah, getting you invested.
Yeah.
And the second hour is all about the preparation, the training, the strategy, building anticipation.
And then that final hour,
Yeah.
Wow, the battle, it just delivers.
Completely. You're totally gripped, and you barely notice the time passing. Masterful control.
And speaking of the characters we care about, the performances are just, well, legendary seems like the right word.
It really is. Starting with Takashi Shimura as Kanbei.
Oh, he's incredible. He just anchors the whole film with this quiet dignity, this wisdom.
Yeah, you see Kanbei's intelligence, his compassion, his tactical mind, But Shimura does it all without any, unnecessary theatrics. It's all internal.
He's just magnetic to watch.
He really is. And then, at the complete other end of the spectrum, you have Toshiro Mifune.
Ah, Miss Mifune as Kikuchiyo. Wild. Unpredictable.
Absolutely. Almost feral at times. This farmer's son who's pretending to be a samurai.
And Mifune just brings this unbelievable energy, this raw emotion to the part.
He makes Kikuchiyo somehow both hilarious and absolutely heartbreaking. It's just iconic. There's no other word for it.
And the others are so perfectly cast, too, creating this amazing ensemble. You've got Seiji Miyaguchi as Kyuzo.
The master swordsman. So quiet, almost mystical.
Minoru Chiaki as Heihachi, the sort of cheerful, practical one.
Yep. Daisuke Kato as Shichiroji, Kenbi's old friend, so loyal.
Isao Kimura playing Katsushiro, the young, idealistic one who has this big arc.
Right, the inexperienced one. And Yoshio Inaba as Gorobei, the skilled archer, another tactical mind, each one distinct.
And we shouldn't forget the villagers. They're not just background props.
No, not at all. People like Bokuzen Higari as the village elder, or Keiko Tsushima as Shino. They bring so much humanity.
They really are the heart of the story, the reason the samurai are there.
Exactly. Their performances are crucial.
Okay, so we got the direction, the performances. Let's talk about the screenplay itself, because that's another layer of genius here.
Definitely. Kurosawa co-wrote it, remember? With Shinobu Hashimoto and Hideo Oguni.
Right. And they created something that works on, well, multiple levels, doesn't it?
Profoundly.
Yeah.
It's remarkable how complete the character journeys are. Not just for one or two, but for pretty much all the main samurai.
Yeah, you mentioned Katsushiro growing up, but Kanbei changes too. This cynical veteran learns to genuinely care for these common people.
And Kikuchiyo finds his real identity, bridging that gap between being a farmer and wanting to be a samurai.
It ensures every character arc feels earned, feels necessary to the story.
But here's where it gets really interesting, especially for 1954.
The social commentary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't just show the rigid class system of feudal Japan, it takes it apart.
It really challenges that romantic image of the samurai, doesn't it? Shows them as, well, often desperate, jobless mercenaries.
Precisely. And it questions those deep-seated social divisions. The film powerfully suggests that true worth, real nobility, comes from your actions, from your character.
Not from your birth or your social standing.
Which was a pretty radical idea to put on screen so directly back then. Still feels relevant now, honestly.
And even just the dialogue. It feels so natural.
Yeah, it's very efficient, short, meaningful exchanges. They move the story, reveal character, but they don't waste words.
No long speeches full of exposition, it just flows.
Right, a testament to the quality of that script.
And technically, beyond the multi-camera setup, the film just set new standards all around.
Oh, absolutely. The cinematography by Asakazu Nakai is stunning.
Those telephoto lenses he used?
Yeah, they create these incredible compositions, kind of flattening the image, compressing the depth of field.
He makes the fedures in the foreground pop with his amazing intensity.
And his use of natural light, the way he captured the weather, it all adds to that realism we talked about.
And Kurosawa edited it himself, right?
He did. And the editing, particularly in the action scenes, was revolutionary.
That rapid cutting between all those different camera angles.
Yeah, that wasn't common at all. It creates this incredible sense of chaos, speed, excitement. You can absolutely see its influence on action films for decades afterward.
That's like the DNA for modern action editing in some ways.
You could definitely make that argument. And the music, Fumio Hayasaka's score.
It's subtle, isn't it? But really effective.
Perfectly effective. It supports the emotion, builds tension, offers relief, but it never overwhelms the scene, just enhances everything perfectly.
And the production design, you just believe this world.
Totally immersive.
Yeah.
The research, the craft that went into the sets, the costumes, the props, everything feels authentic.
It's not just background, it feels like a real lived-in place, which helps you buy into the whole story.
Absolutely essential.
Now, making this epic film, the process itself was apparently almost as dramatic as the movie.
Oh yeah, it was a huge undertaking, a real labor of love or maybe obsession for Kurosawa.
How long did it actually take?
Well, after 3 months of pre-production, the actual shooting took 148 days, spread over a whole year.
Wow, that's long.
4 times what they originally budgeted for time-wise. And the cost ballooned too, ended up close to $500,000, which was enormous back then.
Which led to studio problems.
Big time. Toho Studios, the studio financing it, actually shut down production. Twice.
Because it was going so far over budget.
Yep. It was a massive financial risk for them. Unprecedented, really.
But Kurosawa, His reaction is kind of legendary.
It is. When they shut things down, what did he do? Apparently, he just calmly went fishing.
Just went fishing, seriously.
That's the story. He was apparently just completely confident that the studio was in too deep financially to actually abandon the project entirely.
That's some serious self-belief in your vision, and he was right, obviously.
Clearly. But it speaks volumes about his determination. And his commitment to authenticity was just relentless.
Like building that entire village set from scratch.
Exactly, insisting every detail had to be perfect. And he apparently encouraged the actors to really live on the location, immerse themselves in that environment.
To get more authentic performances.
Yeah, make it feel lived in, not just acted.
And filming in actual rainstorm?
That final battle, especially, must have been incredibly difficult for everyone.
Oh, I bet. Cold, wet, mud everywhere.
But you see the result on screen. That realism, that visceral impact. It's undeniable. You feel that struggle, partly because it was a struggle to film.
It's interesting, too, if you think about the timing of the film's release.
Yeah, post-World War II Japan.
Right. The war had ended less than 10 years before. Japan was rebuilding, becoming a democracy.
And you have this film about ordinary people, farmers, standing up to oppression, finding resilience in community.
Those themes must have really resonated with audiences who just lived through war and occupation.
You have to think so. It tapped into something very current for them, even though it was set centuries earlier.
And what's also fascinating is Kurosawa drawing inspiration from American Westerns.
Yeah, he was a huge fan. John Ford especially.
So he took that basic Western structure, the outsiders coming to help a threatened community.
And made it completely Japanese.
Yeah.
But that structure gave it a kind of universal appeal.
It made it accessible internationally, maybe, while still being totally authentic to its own culture.
I think that's right. And it worked. Huge hit in Japan, obviously. But then it really broke through internationally.
It was kind of the film that introduced a lot of Western audiences to Japanese cinema on a grand scale, wasn't it?
Definitely solidified Kurosawa as a global name. Proved great stories cross borders.
And then the ultimate proof of that universality. The remake.
The Magnificent Seven, 1960. An American Western based directly on Seven Samurai.
Which just shows how adaptable that core story was. Works in feudal Japan, works in the Old West.
Absolutely. And its influence just kept spreading. It's not just a great film. You could argue it basically invented a genre.
The team assembling for a mission movie.
Pretty much. Think about it. Directors like George Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese, they've all talked about how much Seven Samurai influenced them.
Lucas definitely with Star Wars gathering the rebels.
Yep. And you see it shape in everything from The Dirty Dozen right up to modern blockbusters like The Avengers.
That template. Gather a diverse group of specialists to face a common enemy.
That's the shadow of Seven Samurai right there. Its impact is just immense.
Beyond the action structure, though, it's those timeless themes, the philosophy underneath, that really makes it stick with you.
That conflict between honor and survival, for instance. What does the samurai code mean when innocent lives are on the line? Is it rigid, or is it about doing what's right?
And we touched on the class structure.
Yeah, how it exposes those divisions as artificial. The supposedly noble samurai are often broke and desperate, while the lowly farmers show incredible courage.
That message that true worth comes from your actions, your character, not your birthright.
It's powerful. And the film's idea of heroism, it's really defined by sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah. Giving up your own self-interest, sometimes even your life, to help others, often for people who can give you basically nothing in return.
That feels like true heroism. And even with all the spectacular fighting,
it never feels like it's glorifying the violence.
No, never. Every death has weight. There's a real sense of loss.
The victory comes at a terrible cost, and the survivors are clearly changed by it all. It's brutal, but also beautiful and deeply human.
Exactly. It doesn't shy away from the cost.
So let's bring it to today, 70 years later. Why does this film still matter so much?
Well, for one, those themes we just talked about, standing up to bullies, the value of community, what real heroism looks like, they're arguably more relevant now than ever.
Yeah, they don't feel dated at all.
Not in the slightest. And technically, his innovations are still fundamental.
The multiple cameras, the telephoto lenses, the dynamic editing.
Filmmakers are still using those techniques Kurosawa pioneered or perfected back in '54. He was just decades ahead of his time in many ways.
And maybe in our current era of huge CGI spectacles, Seven Samurai is this powerful reminder that great films need great characters. That emotional connection you feel, the stakes. It comes from Kurosawa spending the time to make you care about these individuals.
That's a great point. The human element is paramount. No amount of special effects can replace that.
And ultimately, even though it's so specifically Japanese in its setting and culture,
the core experience is universal. Protecting your home, your family, fighting for what's right against the odds.
people everywhere get that on a gut level. That's why it crosses cultures so easily.
It speaks to something fundamental in the human experience.
So wrapping up, Seven Samurai just succeeds on, well, pretty much every level a film can succeed, doesn't it?
It really does. Compelling story, unforgettable characters, amazing performances, masterful direction, groundbreaking technique. It's all there.
But maybe the most important thing is that it has heart, you know?
Yeah.
Underneath all the epic scope and the action and the ideas, it's a story about good people just trying to do the right thing in a really tough situation.
Well said. And it reminds us that real heroes aren't always these perfect, flawless warriors. Often they're just ordinary people who find the courage to stand up when it counts.
It's a spectacle, for sure, but it's a spectacle of the human spirit. Ideas and action coming together with this incredible scope and depth.
70 years on, it is just as powerful, just as moving. Essential viewing, really, for anyone interested in film, history, or just great human stories.
Absolutely. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. How can a film made so long ago, in such a specific time and place, still teach us so much about ourselves, about storytelling, in ways that feel both completely timeless and totally modern?
That's the magic of it, I suppose. It just endures.